What's going on, everybody? Episode 2 of the I'm Just Saying podcast starts right now. Hello, beautiful people of the United States of America or anywhere else in the world. Wherever you are, I hope that you're having a good day. My name's Jack. Let's get right into it, everyone, because it is a beautiful day, and there's nothing better to do on a Monday than talk about the football that we just watched. There's really nothing better. And I just want to start with a couple things. One, jersey of the day. I'm going to start doing this every week. Jersey of the day. It is Halloween when I'm recording this, so I put my clown costume on, the classic Antonio Brown. One of my favorites growing up. I wish he wasn't such a fucking clown right now, but it is what it is. Thought I'd rock it for Halloween, so happy Halloween to all you beautiful motherfuckers out there. I really appreciate the 10 or 15 of y'all that watched last week. Can't say how much I appreciate it any more than I already do. You guys are the best, so I'm gonna keep trying to stick with it for y'all. If you try and Gatorade, not a sponsor, but very good. Okay. Before we get into the games, I have one little thing that I have to get off my chest. Just one little thing. I may have to take a break. I may have to take a break from the gamblings, guys. I am so cold. It's unbelievable. I finally won a bet on Prize Picks. Finally won a bet. And these motherfuckers, they hooked me, and I went right back in, and I'm out of money. So I'm not betting for a while. Rather, I need to start doing straight bets. I really do. I need to start doing straight bets because I can't do this parlay shit every time. Because I'll be 1 off, 2 off. Today, I'll try to find a picture of it and put it up on the screen somewhere around, maybe around here. So I had DeAndre Swift under 14 points fantasy score. He beat it by 0.3. Tony Pollard over 16, crushed it. DJ Moore over 13, crushed it. Amon-Ra St. Brown, 13.9, had to be over 15. I mean, I just needed a point. Basically, another two more catches, and that's it. Or just another catch, really. The 10-yard catch would have gotten me there. 5-yard catch would have gotten me there, to be quite honest with you. This fucking app causes me so much anxiety that I just can't do it anymore. I just can't do it anymore. And then I had like $25 left. I did the stupid gambling thing, which I'm still getting into it, so bear with me on the gambling, but I did that stupid gambling thing. I can only imagine a stupid gambling thing where you just spend your last $20 on something and hope that it hits, and you're like, well, I'll never do it again. I'm gonna be back. Mark my words, I will be back because I want to win, and I want to win big. But I need to do straight bets, so I need to figure something out. Anyway, let's get into the football. We had a great week of football. Well, not a great week of football. We had a couple absolute stinkers, but there's some excitement. There's some excitement to be had. Great fantasy week for me. I needed a huge win this week, and I got it. I put up like 170 points in PPR, which I don't know about how your leagues work, but for my league, that's one of my best scores yet this year. Absolutely phenomenal. I think the other guy I beat, I had like 3 players with 30 points, and the other guy did too, and I barely won, but I needed it, so that's big. I'm sitting right in the middle of the pack right now in my big money league. I'm 4-4. Kind of took a couple mental weeks off. I had some injuries. I had to make some deals. I made a trade for Kenneth Walker. I told y'all about that last week. Kenneth Walker he might be my new favorite player because he only scored 12 points this week. Kind of stunk. Still got the touchdown. So like he might be. I'm so happy with how he's played the last couple weeks. And hopefully the Seahawks don't fall off a cliff like the Giants did against them this week. But we'll get into that later. I had a couple big performances. Marcus Mariota, we'll get into that crazy fucking game. Marcus Mariota went off. Tony Pollard, as I said, crushed the Bears. Absolutely demoralized the Bears this week. Tony Pollard did. So I'm glad that I have him on the lineup. I put in St. Brown. He did fine. I sat Swift. It was, those moves were pretty irrelevant for me. I mean, let's take a look here. I'll try to put up a little picture of the team on there. You can roast the shit out of me if you want to. I don't care. Cooper Kupp had 20 points in the first half. He got hurt. He's a monster. If he plays, he's 20 points no matter what. Unbelievable. Gesicki I picked up because my tight end situation was fucked, but he got in the end zone today. Carlson laid a goose egg. He's the number one kicker in fantasy, so I kept him around. And kind of stunk. I do have Brandon Cooks on the bench. And Brandon Cooks, I'm really hoping he gets traded to somebody good. Because if he does, that's another fucking monster that I have on my team. But, all in all, good week in fantasy. I put up 178.32 in NFL fantasy. So, I mean, I did pretty good. I can't complain about it. Like I said, I needed that big win bad. That makes me even. And I can go back into trying to make a move up the leaderboard. But let's get into it. I've done enough talking. I'm about to do a couple hours more. So tune in, sit back. Here we go. So I'm going to start. I am going to start with my Steelers. Why not? Why won't I start with my Steelers? Of course, I should start with my Steelers. I hate this team so goddamn much. You have no idea. I should have done another video like I did on TikTok last week after that game, that miserable game. At least that one we put up a fight to the end. This one, to be quite honest with you, we were in that game for way longer than we needed to. A.J. Brown just took a big old, he must have had 16 coffees this morning because he took a shit the size of Mount Everest all over our secondary. He mossed Minka twice. Jalen Hurts is the real deal. He's unfucking believable. He played so well yesterday. All of his touchdown passes just dropped them right in a bucket. The guy could sling it, and I was a hater. I was a Jalen Hurts hater big time. I did not think he could do the way he has been doing this year. And he's fantastic. He really knows exactly where he needs to go with the ball. The Nick Sirianni offense. Tony Romo, I mean, he may have been going a little too far in the broadcast last week. He was fucking sucking off that offense. But it is good, and it's going to be here to stay. He has about 16 million different options on every play. It's super hard to defend. And honestly, I thought the defense hung in there for a decent amount of the game. And the beginning of the second half, I kind of stopped watching because I was focused more on the bets at that point. I was watching those games a little bit more. I will say they kept us in it long enough. If our offense was just competent at all, which it isn't, and we're 2-6 now, it's just there's no point in rooting for this team to go to the playoffs anymore. If we made the playoffs after a 2-6 start, I mean, let's think about this: 2-6. That's through week 8. So there are 11 more weeks in the... Sorry, not 11. There's 9 more weeks in the season here. If we win out, we go 11-6, which is like right at the bottom of the AFC. Probably those playoff spots. 11-6, 10-7 are kind of be the cutoff how good the NFC or AFC is. And I don't think it's going to happen because we need to get better and we need to get better fast. If you look, let's see if we can pull up our schedule here. I know we play the Ravens twice still. Next week we play the Saints. We have a bye, and then we go play the Saints. We play the Bengals, who are looking better and better every week. They play tonight, actually. The Colts, maybe we could beat the Colts. We could beat the Falcons. There's 2 potential wins. Then the Ravens. We always play the Ravens close, but it's the Ravens. The Panthers is a winnable game, but PJ Walker has been proving time and time again that he's a competent quarterback, and they have talent there. The Raiders are god awful. I mean, we should be able to beat them on Christmas Eve, but I mean, you have Devontae Adams, he could get hot at any point. I mean, the back half of our schedule definitely has games we could win in there, but say that we go out of the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the 9 games that we have left. I just said it earlier. I don't know why I'm counting it. The 9 games that we have left, if we go 7-2, we are still 9-8, and something tells me the way that we're playing, we're not going 7-2. So I think we should be writing this season off. They should let TJ Watt sit on the bench for as long as they possibly can, even though he's probably going to play after the bye. And the team does get a lot better with them. I just don't see us making the playoffs at this point in time. Maybe after the bye week and a couple weeks of watching film and everything like that, then something better can go on. But I just don't see how this team is going to make the playoffs, and I think we got to start preparing ourselves for a top 10 pick, which I don't like. I don't like it at all. And I'm going to have to deal with it. I'm going to have to figure out how to root for a terrible team. And the Eagles, I mean, I have nothing more to say about the Eagles other than A.J. Brown is a fucking monster. Jalen Hurts is a monster. Miles Sanders is having the year of his career right now. I mean, 9 carries, 78 yards, and a touchdown is not anything to laugh about, anything to write home about. Well, it is something to write home about. And I actually traded him away for Kenneth Walker, which we'll see how that goes the rest of the season, because Miles Sanders, after saying, don't draft me in fantasy football, has become a really, really talented fantasy football player this year. But, you can't focus on that too much. I mean, 6 catches, 156 yards, 3 touchdowns is it's just demoralizing. I mean, I was watching the game. I was like, I can't even watch it anymore. Jalen threw it in a bucket on those 2 corner routes or go routes up the sideline to A.J. Brown. They're just such a good team. They're very well-rounded. They'll be in it at the end. The thing with the Eagles is this is kind of the NFL fan in me just like thinking out loud here, so bear with me on this. But the Eagles, there's got to be a team on the schedule that they drop one to. Like, do they lose to the Cowboys maybe the second time? The Giants, Packers are bad, Commanders are bad. I mean, their schedule, they haven't played anybody that really scares you except for the Vikings, who ultimately the Vikings are controlled by Kirk Cousins, which is not someone who scares you at all. The Jaguars were frisky at the beginning of the year, but they've been horrible lately. Same thing with the Cardinals. There's a whole lot of disarray going there. I mean, the Cowboys are really the only team, maybe the Titans by that time, because they're rolling right now, but they're playing a lot of bad teams too. Maybe the Titans by that point in the season have really figured it out, and they've realized they just should give Derrick Henry the ball 16 times every quarter. But I mean, you don't see a team on that schedule that looks like a team that can really compete against them offensively or defensively. They're going to be hard to beat, and then they're going to be that team that runs into a San Francisco, or if LA gets hot or something like that, they're going to have to play those guys, and it might be more than they've played. But we'll see what happens. I love Philly. I love the Philly fans. Maybe I shouldn't because I'm on the other side of the state, but I just love how everyone there is kind of an asshole. I think it's hilarious, and I'd love to be a part of that. Sadly, I'm not, but it seems like a fun place to be. And they're hot, they're rolling, they're gonna be hard to stop. They just are. Broncos, Jaguars, we all got up to see some garbage. What do you want me to say about this? Other than I hate Russell Wilson so much because he finally has that 2 seconds of, oh well, he doesn't look that bad. Oh, maybe there's the Broncos coming back. And they did have a 98-yard drive in the middle there. I mean, 18 for 30, 252 and a touchdown. It's a good game. It's probably up there with his best game of the season. But One game in London against the Jaguars does not tell me that you're better, especially after all the stupid high knees in the plane bullshit that kept going on. I mean, I just hate the guy. I can't believe I wanted him so badly. In the offseason, I wanted him so unbelievably badly to play for the Steelers. Him and Aaron Rodgers, I was all in. I was like, you know what? The Steelers never make a splash. Let's go out and get somebody. Let's do it. Let's give it a shot. And I really wanted Russell Wilson because I thought he would be easier to get with all the bullshit happening over there. I'm so glad we didn't give up 3 first-round picks and $250 million to that guy, because he's an absolute clown, and he doesn't deserve to be on the team, honestly. Like, he does because he's Russell Wilson and he's talent-wise, but as a human being, he's a fucking animal. And he should probably just retire, because I hate his guts, and I don't really want to watch him. I don't want to have to wake up for the international game and be like, oh, you know what, we get a game early. Like, I don't have to sleep in. You know, I can just wake up, start my morning with a coffee and a touchdown. But nope. We had to watch his bum ass. And Trevor Lawrence fucked me over and didn't do well enough for a bet, so I'm mad at him too. I don't know what the hell to make of the Jaguars. They play well. I mean, Etienne, 24 carries, 156 yards and a touchdown. If you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, when was the last time, besides, James Robinson, but if you have a running game that dominant and you're controlling the line of scrimmage like that, I don't know how you're not winning more games. I just don't. And Doug Peterson was supposed to make change. They've already won 2 games this year, so maybe they get up to that like 5 or 6 and they have a little momentum going into next year. But they're just losing these games that they're in at the end, and then it kind of fizzles out for them. So I don't really know what to make of them. And we'll see how it ages, you know, at the end of the season. We'll kind of sit there and say, well, the Jags they either were a little worse or a little better than we thought. I mean, they beat the brakes off the Chargers. The Chargers are a good football team. I don't know what to make of them. And I think that's pretty much all I've got to say here on that game. Now we move to Panthers-Falcons. Everyone in Carolina right now, where I've grown up basically my whole life here in South Carolina, real close to Panthers country, in Panthers country. I just want to apologize to all of you, personally, from the bottom of my heart, because it's my fault. It's my fault. I was live texting. If you didn't watch this game, right, it sort of exploded in the second half with the offense. As you can see, Panthers put up 21 points in the second half. In the fourth quarter alone. And the Falcons kept hanging around. It was kind of back and forth game at the end, a lot of long drives or big plays. All of a sudden, the Panthers have to basically go all the way down the field in like 30 seconds, maybe 20 seconds, something like that. And the Falcons defense, if you watch the replay, they're basically playing a prevent, and all 3 guys, including DJ Moore, for the Panthers, DJ Moore basically runs up the field, and they all 3 just are like, well, why are we all doing this? Because we know it's not going to work. And DJ Walker buy some time, and just slings one, and you could see DJ Moore go like, oh shit, this ball's coming to me, and start running, and he beats all the defenders who are like, oh fuck, we're doing this. It's one of the best throw and catches I've ever seen. And then unfortunately for Panthers fans who I swear they just live in disappointment, and I apologize directly to them. DJ Moore takes the helmet off, swings it like Stephon Diggs in the Minneapolis Miracle. They get the 15-yard penalty. It's still a tie ball game, so they don't lose right there. But Eddie Pinheiro goes out and does what he does best, which is miss a field goal. And here we go. We go to overtime. The Panthers get a pick from Marcus Mariota on the first or second play of overtime. They return it all the way back to the 20-yard line, and I text my buddy, one of my best friends in the world, and I'm so sorry I did this. But I texted him, I said, hey, You trust him. You trust him. He said, from 20 yards, I trust them. And I gave him a little ... You know, try to build some suspense up for him, because I'm with him on this at this point. I'm like, hey, you know, he's the kicker. He should make a 20-yarder, especially after missing. He'll be fine. They kick the field goal. He misses it again. And in that moment, I felt terrible. I felt absolutely terrible. And I went through the whole weekend. You know, we were getting in an Uber because of this COVID stuff. You know how people used to stuff into an Uber before going out, where you'd have like 7 people in a sedan. Well, I go, oh, well, there's no way, you know, if we have one extra person for this Uber, like they'll no way they'll tell us we have to order a new one. And sure enough, the fucking guy goes, for legal purposes, I need, you guys can't get in this Uber. I'm like, Jesus. So now this weekend, I've basically just been jinxing myself over and over again. And I did it to my best friend in the world. And I just want him to know, because I know he's out there watching. I owe you something. Whatever you want, it's on me. I owe you, buddy. But that was one of the craziest games I've ever watched. I mean, if you watch the ball that PJ Walker throws to DJ Moore, it's like a Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, like just moonball, perfect, straight into his hands. Great catch by DJ Moore, who had some drops in the game, to be quite honest with you. And he makes it happen. And you're like, that's the craziest ending to a football game I've ever seen, and it doesn't. And of course, it ends up in disappointment as the Falcons, after the second missed field goal, go down the field and kick a field goal of their own. They're now the leaders in the clubhouse in the NFC South, which is crazy to think about, that they're doing better than the Bucs, number one, with Marcus Mariota at their quarterback. They don't have A.J. Terrell, who many think is the best cover corner in the league at this point. He's up there in that top 4 or 5, especially at his age. They have tons of people out. I mean, they fought off everything you could possibly imagine. Donta Foreman, again, proving that he's a fucking monster in his own right, and proving to the Panthers that trading Christian McCaffrey is one of the best decisions they've made, even though we'll get to him and his monstrous performance today as well. You got to give all the credit in the world to the Falcons, and Arthur Smith doing that weird bitch ass like walk off thing at the beginning of the year. I thought that was going to age so poorly, and here they are 4-4, leading the division. But anything can happen, and you know, good for them, because they've been terrible. They just really have, and they're starting to turn it around, and it's fun to have good football teams around here. But yeah, they don't scare anybody, but, you know, keep it interesting. If they end up making the playoffs, that's a huge accomplishment for Arthur Smith in his first year. And I hope that they keep doing well. Moving right along, like I said, Dak is back. 250 yards, 2 touchdowns. I believe Michael Gallup got one of those. Tony Pollard absolutely stole the show this weekend. 14 carries, 131 yards, 3 touchdowns. Monster performance from him. Just clap it up. Thank you. Thank you, Tony. Thank you very much, sir. I love you. And I've been keeping you around all this time for this game, because now we get Ezekiel Elliott injured. Everyone realizes that Tony Pollard is fucking unbelievable and way better than Zeke at this point in their careers. And I think now the Tony Pollard viable and fantasy train is chugging out of the station, and I don't think this is going to be a 1-week wonder. I mean, obviously Zeke is still going to get his touches because they love him there, but still. And the Cowboys may be the biggest surprise of the NFL this year, with how many people they've lost, how many people, you know, Dak going down, everyone thinking he might be out for the season, all this stuff. They hold it together. Cooper Rush wins 3 or 4 games. Their offensive line looks fantastic again, and they are just running it down people's throats. They're scoring through the air now with Dak back. That defense is unfucking believable. I picked Micah Parsons to be my Defensive player of the year this year before the season started, and that couldn't look like a better prediction. I mean, he's flying around the football field. It seems like he plays 20 different positions. I don't know how he does it, but he does. And it's fun to watch. It's just straight up fun to watch. And couldn't be more annoyed that the Cowboys are doing well. But like I told one of my friends the other day, when the Cowboys are doing well, it may be bad in the short term, but as Stephen A. Smith always says, what can go wrong will go wrong, and the Cowboys fans will have to shut the fuck up when the 49ers or the Rams or whoever gets into the playoffs out there. Probably the 49ers is like that team that's going to squeak in, and they're just going to murder them, and they're going to take their soul away, and it's going to be fun to watch, just like it was last year. And I can't wait. I can't wait. And the best part is Tony Pollard being a monster in fantasy doesn't affect me when they're in the playoffs. The Bears, on the other hand, 29 points from the Bears offense is a huge step in the right direction. Justin Fields looked much better. They're finally running him a lot more. I'd have to go into the box score here. I don't know exactly off the top of my head, but he threw a couple touchdown passes. I think one in the corner was wonderful. Khalil Herbert had a nice day. Same thing with Justin Fields on the ground there. But they just had a good day. They ran into a juggernaut this week. On the road in Dallas is not where you want to be if you're a little struggling. But they still got a ways to go. I don't really know what to make of the Chicago Bears. They're 3-5 somehow, and they might be frisky. They might be a frisky team that can take somebody to the end of a game, steal a couple wins. Maybe they shouldn't. They have some good pieces like Brisker. I like Kyler Gordon. I like, but they're still a couple of years away, if anything. And I do think you should keep going with Justin Fields. I mean, he's Justin Fields. He'll get it eventually. And if he doesn't, and you're terrible, take one this year. Like if he doesn't get any better than he did this week, you might have to move on with him, because if you're in that position where you can get a Stroud or Bryce Young, then your hand might be forced. But I mean, those two guys, you might be in the same boat here with Justin Fields, because Justin Fields used to sling it in college too. But maybe Bryce Young less so than C.J. Stroud, but still. Anyway, the Dolphins and the Lions. The Lions are just a disappointment. At least they're putting up fantasy viable people, because they get all their guys back healthy finally, and they still lose. However, the Dolphins made me incredibly mad because Tyreek Hill had like 200 yards, 12 catches, 188 yards, doesn't even get in the end zone. Of course, I need that for a bet, and that's why I'm not using this stupid fucking app anymore, because it makes me so unbelievably mad. And I wish that I was better at it, but I'm just not. I'm terrible. I have to go to the grave knowing that. Tua looks fantastic. I mean, Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill together are absolutely unstoppable. I don't know how you stop them if you don't have athletes on the defensive side of the ball. You can't play zone because Tua is too accurate. And their defense isn't good, but it's good enough to keep them in the game when they could score 30 no problem like they did last week. And it's just a new time. Like, the Dolphins are good. The Cowboys are good. The Falcons are okay. Like, the Eagles are really good. Some of these teams that have been bad for a little bit are starting to come around. And, even the Jets, who lost today, the Jets are a pretty solid team right now, too. The Giants are good again. Like, it's just that new crop of teams that are going to be at the top. And I have to get used to it, because I don't want to believe in Tua after those first couple of years. But I mean, with the athletes that he has, you have to. The offensive line's been playing better, and Tua's not being so stupid. So got to give credit where credit is due. Mike McDaniels has transformed that team into youth and speed, and that's the way the NFL is going. And there's no surprise they're playing the way that they are right now. So good for them. Credit to Mike McDaniel and his cool aviators. moving on to the Cardinals and the Vikings. The Cardinals, I think the Cardinals just stink, and we're all kidding ourselves because Kyler Murray's pretty good. Cliff Kingsbury probably stinks, just like he did in college. I don't know why they would ever hire that guy. He probably stinks just as much, and Kyler gets mad. You could blame it on Call of Duty coming out. It's hilarious that works out where they lose after Call of Duty, but, you know, if you ask Juju Smith-Schuster, Call of Duty makes you a much better teammate. So, really, what are we doing here? The Vikings are 6-1, and I just refuse to believe it. I just refuse to believe it. Obviously, Justin Jefferson's real, but I mean, they get crushed by the Eagles. They play the Packers, who have proven to be not good. The Lions, who are terrible. The Saints, who didn't have Jameis Winston. The Bears, who are terrible, and they didn't beat them. They didn't beat them by that much. I mean, look at these games; they're so close. The Lions, the Saints, the Bears, the Dolphins. The Dolphins are a good team that they beat, but they were out without Tua. These losses or these wins are fraudulent. This is where the fraud sneaks in. The Kirk Cousins. I mean, this loss right here is really what tells you. You play a good team on prime time, and Kirk Cousins shits the bed just like he always does. Their schedule's getting tougher. They're gonna come the Bills, the Cowboys. The Jets are a decent team right now. The Giants down the stretch is a better team, but they still have to pay the Packers. It's just, I don't believe it. I won't believe it until they win the playoff game. I don't care. Fuck Kirk Cousins. Like, decent as a fantasy replacement, and that's it. Like, I don't trust them. I won't trust them. I don't really know anything about the Vikings other than they keep beating up on these bad teams or winning by a small amount. And the story for the Cardinals is that they just keep pissing away these games every once in a while. Moving on to the Raiders and the Saints. What the hell is going on in Las Vegas? Because I was watching some ESPN this morning, and people are calling for Josh McDaniels' job, and it seems like rightly so. They don't put up a single point. Devontae Adams, I believe it finished with one catch for 3 yards, which I don't know how that's possible. I used to say when he was with Aaron Rodgers, they were the one group together that was still left in the league that you know exactly what was coming, and they were going to throw it, and it was going to work anyway until the NFC Championship game. But Tim ended up getting so bad. Wow. Also, Derek Carr. My Derek Carr take from last week is aging well. He's fucking horrible. I mean, how do you not get it to Devontae Adams? One catch for -1 yards. To Devontae fucking Adams. You paid multiple first-round picks and big money to keep this guy. I don't know how that's possible. And the Saints is a decent defense, but they've been giving up points to everybody the last couple of weeks. And Andy Dalton outplays you. Andy Dalton. So I think Derek Carr, just like I said last week, Derek Carr is the most fraudulent, nice person in the world. He absolutely sucks. People should hate him more because he's the Dabo Sweeney thing, right? He runs around. Everyone's like, oh, look at me. He's like, I'm such a good guy. I'm a Christian. I have 16 kids, blah, 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 blah. I love my guys. Like, I wish Antonio Brown was still around, that kind of shit. And really, he's just a selfish asshole who really wants to be the focal point of everything, even though he doesn't deserve to because he fucking stinks. Derek Carr pisses me off so much on a daily basis, and the people who still defend Derek Carr, go fuck yourself. I don't care if Derek Carr puts up 4,000 yards next year. He's got to be the fucking MVP next year for me to believe that he's a top 10 quarterback. That take is so old and washed over. He's terrible. He's terrible. Devontae Adams is too good to get one target or one catch for -1 yard. Plain and simple. Maybe you should fire Josh McDaniels, but I don't think that Derek Carr is going to win you the Super Bowl the way he's playing like that. I really don't. Patriots, Jets. Patriots, Jets. I don't know what to make of either of these teams. I don't know what to make of them at all. Other than Madre Stevenson's pretty good. But Zach Wilson somehow finished that game with 355 yards and 2 touchdowns, but I believe he also had 3 picks. Under 50% completion percentage is just atrocious. Garrett Wilson looks like he's been doing pretty well. Mac Jones, I thought they were going to put Zappy in at some point because he looked terrible. And they didn't, which is crazy. But I'm in 35 attempts and 194 yards. He did throw a pick 6 that got called back. I believe that it was a gift because, I mean, he threw one of the worst passes I've ever seen straight to the defender who just waltzed down the field. And I believe it was a roughing the passer penalty that called it back because he did not look good at all. And the Jets confuse me. They confuse me a lot because Zach Wilson has been playing terrible. He's been playing terrible. But every time I pick against the Jets, they fuck me over. So I can't pick against them. They're 5-3, which if you're a Jets fan, that's more than you would take. Probably if anybody told you the Jets would be 5-3 going into the midway point of the season, that I think every single Jets fan would get down on their knees and pray for that to happen. And here it is, and you still are going, well, this team kind of stinks because their defense is very good. Sauce Gardner is phenomenal. I love him. The whole cheesehead thing last week was hilarious, and they should be riding that defense more, just like they are right now. But they got to make Zach Wilson not do that because there was an interception that he had where he like made a play, got creative, go to the outside, wait, creates, and that's what you want to see. But then at the end of it, he throws like the worst throwaway, like weak lob straight to a defender, and you're like, why would you not just throw it out of bounds? He makes some decisions that you're like, maybe you should go back to milk hunting because you're not as good at throwing the football as you are at throwing your cock into a MILF's pussy. Clearly, you're just not. If he can't get it figured out, they're not going to make the playoffs. They have the Patriots again. And I said it last week, too. I said if the Jets beat the Patriots, then I will start to believe in the Jets. And they didn't beat the Patriots. And not only that, they looked bad doing it. Zach Wilson just didn't look very good. And if you look at their schedule, they have the Bills next week, which might be a smattering. They play the Patriots again. The Vikings, who, even though I don't believe them, are 6-1. The Bills again, who, best team in the league by far right now, I think, is the Buffalo Bills. The Lions, the Jags, those are those games that the Jets always play that you're like, okay, well, they can at least win those. The Seahawks, who I think the Seahawks are playing significantly better than the Jets are right now. And the Dolphins, who will probably crush them. So it's not the easiest schedule down the stretch, especially having to play the Bills and the Patriots a bunch of times. But they could get through it somehow. They could sneak into the bottom half of the playoff conversation. I don't know if they will. But, good for the Jets if they do. We've already killed them once, and we're terrible this year. So the Patriots, 4-4. Bill Belichick passes Papa Bear George Halas on the all-time wins list. I think they're going to be kind of that Steelers-esque, Mike Tomlin-esque. They're going to be 8-9, 9-8 kind of a team, unless they just give it the reins to one of these quarterbacks who starts balling out, and then you never know. But their receivers are kind of bad. The Tom Brady thing is coming. It's coming out on Bill Belichick because Bill Belichick, for all these years, I was one of those people who said Bill Belichick, he's the real genius. Tom looks bad this year, but seems like he won that deal. I don't know. The Texans and the Titans, The Texans are horrible. Texans are horrible. That's it. The Texans are horrible, and they still only lose this game by 7 points. Derrick Henry, like you see right here, 32 carries, 219 yards, 2 touchdowns. If the Titans are going to do anything in the long run, they're I swear on their life. I know Malik Willis played, so they didn't have as much consistency, and Malik is still a rookie. I believe he's rookie or something like that. But here's the deal. Even with Tannehill into the game, right? Even with Tannehill, the Titans should give the ball to Derrick Henry until the defense tells you that they can't. As simple as that. Derrick Henry, I believe it was like his second carry of the game he took for 60 yards. He's an absolute wrecking ball. The guy looks like the Hulk. I mean, give him the ball as much as you possibly can, because especially against a team like the Texans, they're just not going to be able to stop him. And you can see it by the stat sheet right there. Like I said earlier for the Texans, I'm still kind of undecided on Davis Mills, but they're just so bad right now that you kind of have to say Davis Mills is probably not the answer. And if you're in that Bryce Young conversation, you're going to have to go in that direction, because the quarterback is just way too important this time of year. But they're not in the worst position. Stingley is a good player. I think they got the picks from the Deshaun Watson deal. So at least they have a good place to start, but they're just not very good. They're just not very good at all. And when you go up against someone like Derrick Henry, you just need a whole lot of more pieces in the front seven that they don't have. So, moving on to the Commanders and the Colts, Taylor Heineke fucked me over in one of my bets as well. So credit to Taylor Heineke. The Colts are a joke. I think Jonathan Taylor got hurt, if I'm not mistaken, in this game. I don't know what his status is for the rest of the year or how hurt that he is. But Taylor Heineke proves once again that he's one of the best backup quarterbacks in the league. If you let him start against maybe the Packers on the road, I almost said that out loud. I'm doing a sports podcast, and I almost said that out loud because he literally played the Packers on the road last week and won. So what am I talking about? 4-4 the Commanders after starting 1-4, I believe it was. They have really turned the ship around, and they don't even have Carson Wentz. So good for them. Brian Robinson has been a huge help. Yeah, they start with a win against Jacksonville and then 4 straight losses, and now you get 4 straight wins against the Bears, who the Bears are kind of terrible. The Packers kind of terrible, and the Colts kind of terrible, but still you're going in the right direction. You know, you got some tough games coming up in the schedule. How did they play the Giants twice in a row? Who did that? Who at the NFL did that? How is that even possible? There might be that's crazy. I kind of like it, but it's crazy. Their schedule gets up much tougher down the back half. And we'll see how they orchestrate their way through it, especially with all this Dan Snyder shit going on. That guy is clearly a crazy person. He may not be a scumbag, but he's as close as you can get. Let's go on, because I'm not going to talk about the game anymore. It's just so bad. The 49ers and the Rams. The 49ers may have made one of the best moves that I have ever seen before the trade deadline in the NFL. Christian McCaffrey is so good. And I said it before, I still think the Panthers got a good amount out of that. I know people wanted a first-round pick, but they got 4 or 5 picks with it. They're not going to win the Super Bowl with Christian McCaffrey, so you might as well move on from him. He is so good. I believe he put up over 40 points in fantasy. He had a passing, a rushing, and a receiving touchdown in this game. 94 yards on the ground. Jimmy Garoppolo played really well. He looked fantastic yesterday. He played absolutely out of his mind. Now, the other thing on the other side of this is that the Rams kind of stink, maybe. The Rams kind of stink. I don't know what happened to them, but all of a sudden, maybe Aaron Donald is checked out. You know, I used to say this to a bunch of people. Aaron Donald, like, the thing with Aaron Donald is he's been talking about retirement recently. Well, who have you ever seen an athlete in any sport who's like, you know, I won my championship and now I just don't want to win again because it sucked so much. I don't want to win another Super Bowl. Worst thing ever. That's bullshit. He just wants some money is what I thought. But maybe he's checked out because that team is horrible right now. They are in all sorts of disarray. Matthew Stafford is not looking like what he was last year. He is, but you know, 14 points. I know Cooper Kupp went down, I believe, in the second half at some point in this game. The defense just hasn't been very good. They just haven't been very good other than in spurts this year, and they've still got some time to figure it out. I think they can make it into the bottom half of the playoffs in the NFC and be dangerous. I'm sure they'll be there at the end of the year, but they look like they're just out of whack right now, and they need a bye week to kind of reset and move forward. The 49ers also were without Debo this week, and that's just insane. It's insane. What are you going to do? I said it last week. I think Christian McCaffrey honestly might put up like 1,000 yards in half the season with them. Because what are you going to do next week? How are you going to defend Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, who had a real big game today? He's come right back on like he was 2 years ago. Now you got Debo, McCaffrey, Kittle, Ayuk. They're unstoppable. They're unstoppable. And Jimmy G is playing phenomenally. I said it. If Jimmy G wins the Super Bowl, there's going to be a firestorm in San Francisco, an absolute firestorm, and it is going to make me laugh my ass off. It's going to make me laugh my ass off because if these fucking people, these Trey Lance motherfuckers, they gave up so much for Trey Lance. If they go out and win the Super Bowl with the guy they basically kicked out the door, who said his goodbyes, who doesn't want to be part of the organization anymore because he knows he's not going to play. You know, he had to stay there because of the surgery. No one wanted to trade for him. He's playing very well right now, and they have a million weapons and a good offensive line. Watch out for the San Francisco 49ers to rattle off a couple of wins here. Let's check the schedule for the 49ers because even if they're playing somebody good, let's see. Oh, yeah. So they get the Chargers on Sunday Night Football next week. That'll be a good game, but definitely winnable the way they're playing right now. The Cardinals, who are not a Monday Night Football team, in my opinion. They're just not. They're all sorts of out of whack right now. The Saints, who are down. The Dolphins, who are good, but they can be beat by a team like that can run the football. The Buccaneers, the Seahawks, Commanders, Raiders, Cardinals. So there's a bunch of winnable games here in the back half of the schedule for them. They will be there in the end. They will be there in the end. I don't know if they get all the way to the chip this year, but they're my dark horse candidate. I'm sure their odds have gone way down, their betting odds to win the Super Bowl. So I hope you got in beforehand if you're in that kind of train. But the 49ers are very good, and you're going to have to watch out for them, that's for sure. Moving on to the Giants and the Seahawks. This is the dud of the week right here, folks. This game, how crazy the NFL has been this year. The Giants and Seahawks was the only game featuring two teams with winning records. We had matchups like the Packers and the Bills, the Rams and the 49ers. You know, we had the Steelers and the Eagles. We had the Patriots and the Jets, Cardinals, Vikings. Like, there are matchups on this card that you see and you go, these should be winning teams, like great matchups, and some of them are just duds. And this is the winning team record, and the Giants kind of got exposed. Their first loss in a while here, 6-2 now. There's still plenty of time, but Daniel Jones is not a thrower. He's not a thrower, but he plays quarterback, and that's tough sometimes because sometimes you need a throw. And Geno Smith, to his credit, didn't have his best game today, but he's still throwing the ball out of his fucking mind. And, I mean, 23 for 34, 212, and 2 touchdowns is a down game for sure, but You can't sleep on Geno Smith. I mean, we'll say it once. I've said it once. I'll say it again. Just like everybody else in the world, they're crushing the Russell Wilson trade right now. Absolutely crushing it. This kid, Kenneth Walker, is one of my favorite players in the NFL because he's just a freaking, his motor just boom, 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 wrecking ball right down the field. Perfect for that Seahawks kind of Pete Carroll style. Reminds me a lot of Marshawn Lynch. Not from not his Marshawn Lynch is a little bit more of a just like a ball of fury, but they run very physically, and that's what I like about them. Dayball will get the boys going again for the Giants. I think this is just a down week for them. They go all the way across the country, the Seahawks, but they're going to have to do that to win, and we'll see if they can get back on track because their pass game is suffering. They may need to go make a move for receiver before this trade deadline is over. Is the only crazy take that I have for the Giants because Richie James going into this game, I believe, was their leading receiver. They just got rid of Kadarius Toney, who's an elite sort of playmaking wide receiver. Kenny Golladay has been the worst use of $75 million that anyone has ever made. I think they may need to be one of those teams that if they really want to commit to the season, they go out and get a receiver. If they don't, they go get one in the draft next year for sure. But watch for these teams to be there as well in the end. I mean, we'll see. There's still a lot of time left. But I like the turnover. I like some different teams getting in the mix here in the NFC, and we have a couple more teams in the NFC than we thought. That may be a not necessarily a contender for winning the Super Bowl, but definitely for making a couple of splashes in the playoffs, and that's for sure. And we finish here with the Packers and the Bills. They're terrible. The Packers are terrible, and the Bills. They're the best team in the league by far. The Bills are so good. Josh Allen is absolutely electric to watch. I'm starting to have this theory. They should only allow Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes to play within 2 minutes, 2.5 minutes left in each quarter because they play even better when there's no time on the clock. It's crazy. It's absolutely wild. There just wasn't a moment last night where you thought the Bills were going to be stopped. And the Packers have a defense that was supposed to be very good, and they lost some guys again last night, but still. They finally got Aaron Jones going in a little bit of a way, but nothing that they could finish on. I believe they did have a touchdown pass get called back at one point. But the Packers really need to do some evaluating because they are not where we thought they were. The offensive line is not as good as we thought it was going to be. And they run into a team like the Bills who are firing on all cylinders, and I've said it before, I think the Bills should be the Super Bowl favorite right now. Josh Allen's electric. Stephon Diggs is unbelievable. Gabe Davis is really, really good. I mean, I still have nightmares about the Gabe Davis 98-yard touchdown pass. So, with that being said, I hope that if the Bills do win the Super Bowl, the city of Buffalo deserves it. I hope that they don't go and then blow it in some horrifically atrocious way like the Norwood kick or when they end up going to the Super Bowl. Those Bills teams in the 90s, it's absolutely crazy. They didn't win one of those four. And I hope that can't happen again for the Bills fan base. I hope it doesn't. They're kind of my team in the AFC that I think if of all the teams that has a chance, they're probably the team I'd want to see win it most. But that's all the week 8 action. Week 9 starts on Thursday with the Eagles and the Texans, which is just one of the worst football games you could possibly imagine. But we still have one more game here in week 8, and that is a divisional game between the Bengals and the Browns. I'll have to look up the betting odds real quick. I think that the Bengals should be a huge favorite in this game. I would probably say 5 or 6 points easily with the way that these teams are trending. The Bengals just have been looking better and better and better. Jamar Chase is out. Hopefully Jamar Chase not out for a long time. I mean, for my sake, Jamar Chase, you don't want to see injuries, but, what are you going to do? And it's, a divisional game, so it's still 3.5 at home. I mean, it's still a close spread. I probably, like I said, don't listen to my gambling picks because I've been wrong. I've been so cold. But what I'd say is I'd probably take the Bengals minus 3.5 on the road here. I think they get it done. I think they get it done in a big way. Even losing Jamar Chase, I think some of those other guys probably get a big bump up. Big bump up in touches. Tyler Boyd has been balling. I've always liked Tyler Boyd. He kind of gets a little disrespected because of that group, but he's been stepping up into that role very well this season. They can run the ball with Joe Mixon if they want to. They probably need to commit a little bit more to that. Same thing with the Browns. They have Chubb. The Browns should just be running Chubb like 30 times a game. They're in a Titans kind of a situation here, especially till Deshaun gets back. Scumbag. Fucking hate that guy. But anyway, especially until he gets back, the Browns should be running the ball 35 times a game with Nick Chubb because he's that good. And they should just be running it and 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 going more down your throat every single game. But give me the Bengals. They're playing well. They'll probably take over the lead in the division. Will they? Well, they'd be tied with the Ravens, but they're probably my division favorite right now, just the way that everyone's looking. And even though Lamar had a good start of the season, that team is kind of up in the air for me. Look for the Bengals to win and to win big tonight. I hope everyone has a good Halloween. Don't get razor blade candy. Don't take fake pills from people in the streets. Hopefully everyone enjoys themselves, do whatever libations you want, whatever plants you like to ingest. Enjoy yourself responsibly. Hope everybody has a good night, and happy Halloween to everybody. I hope y'all enjoyed. Follow, hit the subscribe, turn your notification bell on. I know that helps me out a ton. Trying to make all the branding stuff around this pod a little more accessible for everybody. I really appreciate everyone that has come around and watched all the stuff recently, especially on TikTok. We're getting a bunch of buzz on TikTok, so I really appreciate it, everyone. Hope everyone has a great day, and without further ado, I'll leave you to another wonderful day. Goodbye, everyone.